Addicted to Adderall. What does it feel like to be addicted to Adderall? That's what we're going to get into, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's go. Before I get into it, remember Soberdogs does not promote or condone any drug use. These videos are for informative, educational, entertainment purposes only. Please seek professional medical help if you have an addiction. Leave a comment, let me know about your Adderall experience if you have any. Hit that like, that subscribe. Adderall, the study drug. If you don't know what Adderall is, check out, I got the other videos all about Adderall. First time I ever took Adderall, it was pretty much very similar to like Bradley Cooper in the movie Limitless when he takes that wonder drug. I got so much like energy and focus, and the thing was, all those tasks that the entire part of my adult life that I just, were not interested in, all of a sudden I was so interested in completing and finishing those, like that one drawer you never want to organize, that basket of laundry that hasn't been folded in a year, those 5 files on your computer that you're just like, I gotta take an hour to go through and organize them. I was so into it and focused, and I was doing it for studying reasons, and I was reading extra and studying it, and I loved it. I was just exhilarated on top of the upper effect, so I'm, getting a mini high from it. I loved it, but it didn't take long for me to build up a tolerance. And what a 30 milligram pill did to me that first day, all of a sudden, a couple months later, I need 60, I need 90 to get that same effect. And it started by just taking it for studying purposes, and then, take it and I could drink more. Take it if I have a lot to do one day around the house, things like that. And it slowly progressed and progressed. And I was getting it legally from the doctor after I had 5 concussions. My last concussion, I lost a lot of focus. I just was off in the head. And they gave it to me legally and started me off on 10 a day, and I moved up to 30 a day. But I was going through that like I needed way more than that. And the thing is you get so addicted, at least I got so addicted to the feeling of popping this, and then 20 to 30 minutes later, having so much more energy and motivation. And I know that's what a lot of people get addicted to. I don't know, normally our brain is like, the last thing I want to do is fold laundry. On Adderall, all of a sudden you're like into it. You want to clean, you want to study. But, taking something that brings us up so much to do all these things and have all the motivation, all of a sudden now, okay, I'm going to not take Adderall this week. I'm walking around my house doing stuff for 10 minutes and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Or in mid-afternoon, I'm tired. And it's so easy, I would just say to myself, pop an Addy, pop an Addy. If you pop an Addy, it'll clear that up. If you pop an Addy, it'll do that. And so I slowly started to progress to, first it was taking an Addy for studying, then cleaning, then working out, then everything. It was like, had to take an Addy before class, had to take an Addy before the gym, had to take an Addy if I had anything to do at the house. On top of that, tolerance is going up, so no longer is it pop a 10 or a 20 and get that effect. It's snorting two 20s or snorting, 2 30s. Once I got to that point of addiction to where I was fully reliant on it, it became, this thing that if I didn't have for the day, and I know a good amount of it was actually physical, the withdrawal, so to speak, of it, but a ton of it was psychological. Going from having that Addy every day and all of a sudden either I run out of my prescription or I can't get it or whatever, to not having it, the kind of psychological withdrawal of Adderall addiction is so intense because, my brain was just like, I couldn't fathom doing anything, even like tasks that way prior to Adderall addiction weren't a big deal, the dishes, whatever. My brain couldn't fathom it because every day for the prior, 8 months, 10 months, I had Adderall to do it. And it kicks your ass physically and mentally. That motivation goes from, you're normally at a 5, you take Adderall, you go up to a freaking 12, and all of a sudden you don't got it. You don't go to a 5, you go down to a 0, and you are just struggling. And the ironic part with Adderall addiction too is, I know this happens for a lot of people. It was part of my story. I would take Adderall and work and then ask for extra hours and need to take an Adderall to work those extra hours. But the money I made from working 70 hours a week went back into getting more Adderall because I couldn't stand working 70 hours a week without the Adderall. And then when I would come home at night, I'd be so wired, I would have to buy downers, alcohol, opiates, whatever, to come down because I was wired from the Adderall. It is this miserable cycle, and I know that's, a case with a lot of people. I kept needing larger and larger doses. I wanted to cut down, but I couldn't. I would take 60 or 80 one day, my normal dose, or what I did the last couple days, and I'd be like, all right, today you're only going to take 30, and you're going to slowly cut down. But then when you only take that 30 that day, all that psychological kicked my ass was like, 30, this isn't enough. You're not going to be able to do everything. And I'm not getting the effects I wanted, the effects I thought I should get from 30. So of course I just slowly start taking more and more and more. And when I did take a lower dose or didn't take it, I felt like I couldn't finish work. I wasn't able to, accomplish tasks. I wasn't able to focus. In the center of Adderall addiction, there is a very real stimulant hardcore component. From somebody who has done boatloads of cocaine, done meth before. When I took a lot of Adderall, and I've researched this and talked to other people too, that effect that happens is very similar, both chemically and actually happening, to the effects of methamphetamine. There'd be nights where we'd snort 60, 80, 100 plus milligrams of Adderall, go study for 6 hours, come home, and half the guys are sitting there, playing video games, chewing tobacco or chewing sunflower seeds. I'm in my room vacuuming, chewing, and then I'd lay in bed and I'd be on my laptop and, just sitting there like literally tweaking until 6 a.m, pretty much, just smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, going back, researching this, looking this up. At that point, it was like so much further past what it's designed for, past the focus and normal effects, to like full-blown stimulant. It was equivalent to snorting cocaine to an extent. Not the initial rush, but like the after effects of the fidgety, a little bit of paranoia, cleaning, talkative, nonstop tobacco. And Adderall addiction sucks because what makes it the hardest thing for me, and I've heard this from others as well, is when you do eventually get off it, stop it, whatever, it takes a long time for the brain to get back to a level of normality. And during that period, the motivation is crushed. It sucks because you're going from this super high level of getting stuff done with Adderall to not having it. And again, with the scale, you don't go back down to normal. You go way down for a couple months, for a while. And I've talked to so many people that, 4, 6, 8 weeks after not taking Adderall, they can't do, their motivation is dead. Like a normal 8-hour workday, which they've done no problem for the last decade, even prior to taking Adderall, all of a sudden feels like you're asking them to climb a mountain. And I could totally relate. You don't want to do the simplest, responding to an email, I'd be like, oh, I don't have the motivation to do this. Oh my God. And that's like 6, 8 weeks, even longer. Because the chemicals in the brain are so messed up and they got to get back to a state of equilibrium. That's what we do. We justify it in our brain of why we need it and convince ourselves why it's okay to take more. Oh, I got to clean my room. It's okay to take an Addy. I got a long car drive. It's okay to take an Addy. You know, I got to study. It's okay to take another Addy. And it just started increasing the tolerance and increasing it. And I would just keep giving myself excuses to do more and more, and then take it in different ways, snorting it. And it gets to a point where I need, 120, 150 milligrams a day to get the effect I'm chasing. And I can't imagine what that's doing to my heart and stuff on the inside. For anyone out there that is in the middle of Adderall addiction, the good news is it does get better. It takes time, but your brain will get better. Your motivation will repair. You're not going to get to the levels you were on Adderall, because that's those artificial levels. But that's another thing. We have to come to terms with the fact that we're not Superman. Right at the kind of beginning, middle-ish of my addiction with it, I was getting so much done on a daily basis, because it was right at that point where it didn't really turn into a full addiction yet. I would take it and get the peak effects and get excessive amounts of studying, homework, cleaning done. But I never did that prior to addiction, taking Adderall. So now, not taking it, I had to kind of talk to myself and be comfortable with, like, it's okay to study for 2 hours and take a break. You're not going to get back up to a 6-hour not moving from the chair Adderall study session. You're not going to get back up to there unless you start taking this again, which is going to send you right back in the cycle of addiction. So it's okay to be a normal person with normal motivation. Like, I still push myself to try to do more, but that is something I had to come to terms with in my brain, which can be very hard. It was very hard for me, still is a lot of times, and I know can be for a lot of people. Also, what sucks with it is when somebody you're with or is taking it and you're not, you almost feel cheated. Like, they're getting a leg up on me. They're getting ahead of me. They got it. And I either don't take it or stop taking it or whatever. So you kind of like somebody in sports, if somebody else is taking steroids, you feel cheated a little bit, like they're getting a boost with this artificial chemical and I'm not taking that anymore. And it could be hard to not jump in and want to take that. I know there's a huge problem with Adderall with med students, med school and stuff like that, because of how much work it is, and this person's taking it, so why wouldn't they? And it's a prescription, so it's safe. The addiction gets worse and worse, and tolerance grows so quick with Adderall. But that's what it's like in Adderall addiction. It's that miserable cycle. It sucks. There is hope, though. Recovery is possible. If you want to know more about Adderall, check out the other videos. I got all the other videos about Adderall, everything you need to know. All right? K. Ruggs, the Sober Dog, and I'm out. See ya.